Malcolm Saunders how to deliver a more engaging speech.
Would you like to be able to deliver not just a good speech, but a more dynamic and engaging one? My name is Malcolm Saunders. In the next 5 minutes, you're going to learn some tips that by the time you're done, you won't just hear, "Well, that was a nice speech." You'll be hearing people say, "That was awesome." Just like they were speaking right to me. I really got something out of that speech. It's my belief that every Igniter's Toastmaster can deliver a more dynamic and engaging speech. I stand here today sharing these tips, not as someone who's perfected them or an expert at them, but as someone who's learned a little bit along the way, and it is my sincere hopes in sharing them that we both take them on, and together, every speech that we give, we try and incorporate them. So there are 3 principles you can focus on to develop a more engaging and dynamic speech. The first one I describe as speak to one, but look to all. Have you heard this term before? This was coined by a man named Craig Valentine. And the very first public speaking training I ever went to was by a man named T. Harv Eker. Raise your hand, how many of you have heard of T. Harv Eker? How many of you not? What he did right there was one of the techniques that he taught us. He said, okay, at the beginning of your speech, you want to engage and enroll the whole audience. So you're going to ask a question. How many of you, blank, 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 how many of you not? It's effective, it works. I enrolled everyone, you got to give an answer, yes or no. You're now engaged. However, the advice that Craig Valentine gives, speak to one, but look to all. How can I engage you? How can you engage your audience on a more personal, one-on-one level? Have you ever heard of Craig Valentine? I'm asking you directly. So we'll go through a few examples so you can get the experience of the difference of how it feels. Speaking to one, looking to all. When I say how many of you, I'm speaking, do you feel like you're being spoken to as a group? Yeah. It's one of the reasons why we use the term, fellow Igniters. It's to kind of personalize it just a little bit more. You're like, yeah, I'm an Igniter, I'm going to guess, and this message is for me. What if you shifted your language just a little bit and actually just communicated directly? So Craig Valentine, he goes through these examples, kind of comparing the two, right? So he does what he calls the hallway test. We want to make our speeches more conversational so our audience feels more engaged. We want to speak directly to each individual. So the hallway test is, imagine you're walking by someone in the hallway. Would you say, how many of you have heard of T. Harv Eker? What? Just one of me. What's going on here? You would say, have you ever heard of T. Harv Eker? That's a more direct, personal, one-on-one communication. So speak to one, but look to all. As I speak to just one of you, I'm speaking to all of you. So speak to one, look to all. The next one is by a woman named Patricia Frick, and it's what she calls the I-U ratio. So most oftentimes, most speakers will get up here and say, I'm going to tell you, I will teach you. And she would suggest to flip it around, to make it about the listener. To say, I will teach you, I am, I know, I, versus you will learn. The next 5 minutes, you will learn. We are more self-centric, egocentric as humans, and that's not a bad thing. We just really care what's in it for me. You don't care, what I'm going to tell you. You really want to know, what are you going to learn? What are you going to take away? So in a moment, we'll go through a couple more examples to let that really ground in. So let's imagine, Stephen, you had a party. I went to your house last night, and the next day, Stephen, I really enjoyed your party. I met so many people. I had an amazing time. The food I enjoyed, all of it was so great. I really appreciate it. Versus, Stephen, you are a great host. You connected me with so many different people. You have such interesting friends. You provided such wonderful drinks and refreshments. Which one feels better? Yeah, the one about you, right? Another really great example that Patricia Fripps uses as an example of an opening was from Newt Gingrich. And this is a quote. He opened his speech with this term. Very appropriate for politicians here. So he opened with his speech, if you were born today, you would already owe $186,000 to pay off your share of the national debt. Whoa. That's very different than if I was born in the year 1980, I would owe $186,000 of my personal share of the debt. Yeah, so what? That's you. Who cares? This is you. If you were born, you would owe $186,000. It brings it home. It brings it right to you. Now you're more engaged because it is. It's all about you. So as a speaker, if you can shift your languaging and do what Patricia Fripps calls that I-you ratio, that'll help you deliver a more dynamic and engaging speech. Number 3 is to get your audience reflecting on your speech. And one of the ways to do that, I feel, is ask questions. So the more reflection, the more questions. So conversationally, ask questions of your audience. Last week, Frode gave a speech about goals. What goals do you have in your life? What mountains, literally or metaphorically, are you climbing? It brings you into the speech and into the scenario of you thinking and reflecting on your own life related to the content being presented. If you remember in my humorous speech, I said, have you ever been given advice that you knew was great but was hard to follow? You can relate to that. Oh, yeah. So ask those questions to draw your audience in, get them thinking, reflecting on your scenario, your experience, and their own life and how it relates to them. Would you like to not only deliver a good speech, one that was more dynamic and engaging? Use the following 3 principles. Speak to one, look to all, have a high I-you ratio,